So welcome again to this session of Live IELTS. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from Budapest. And this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. And I was saying on both of our websites, we have lots of tools for you to prepare and practice your speaking. This is our academic IELTS here. With the blue background, you can click that big red button to join the premium package. And for the general version, it's the green background. Click that big red button. In the last class, I showed students that you've got lots of blogs and forums where you can see information about the IELTS exam, sample speaking scripts, task 2, and as well you have this student partner speaking option in your My Student account. You can use that for free, and there you can video and audio chat with other students. So right now we have Eldar, Julianne, and Ridham in here waiting for people to chat with. So you can audio video chat with them. I'm going to jump out before somebody starts chatting with me, as obviously I'm teaching the class, so I can't join the chat. But you can use that for free. So that's student partner speaking, and you can use that to speak with other students. All right. So getting back to the lesson, speaking part 2 today, we're going to go over a nice cue card. Part 2 in the speaking is the long part where you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes on a specific topic. Welcome, Pachu Makbuba. Nice to see many students. Hi, Carolina. Nice to see our members as well. If any of you ever have questions about the IELTS or English, just send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com, and I will gladly answer your questions. Let's take a look at today's part 2 speaking. Here we go. So this is a speaking class. Make sure to speak and repeat. Okay, so this is a speaking class. So speak and repeat. If you hear new words, repeat after me, pronounce them, write them down, add them to your vocabulary. Hi, Lucas. Hi, Erkin. Hi, Joseph. All right, so you're in your speaking exam and you're doing a good job so far. Now, these days with the COVID, if you're doing the speaking, you might not be able to hold the cue card. They might just pass it to you kind of like on a sign so you can read it. Okay, and you look at that cue card. So you've been speaking for a few minutes. You feel confident, comfortable, and the IELTS examiner says, okay, that's the end of part 1. Now we will continue with part 2. For part 2, here's a card with some questions. Here's some note paper and a pencil. In this case, the note paper and the pencil will already be in front of you. They're minimizing contact, okay, so to keep everybody safe. And then, of course, the examiner will say your 1 minute preparation time begins now, and then you turn over the card and then you look at this. Now, ironically, and I've said this before, that your 1 minute preparation time is arguably your most important 1 minute in your speaking section, even though you're not actually speaking in that 1 minute. Why? Why? So keep this in mind, students. Your 1 minute preparation time in part 2 is arguably the most important minute of your 15-minute interview. Okay. Even though you're not speaking. Why? So why is that the most important 1 minute? Okay, Carolina says because you're actually preparing for part 2 and for part 3. Okay? Anna says, because your thoughts are racing in that 1 minute. I like Carolina's answer. Carolina says, because you are, in fact, preparing and brainstorming for part 2 and part 3. Okay, yep, that's true. Yeah, because part 3 is connected to part 2. Okay. All right. Yarabisha says something similar, and it's a good point, Yarabisha. Yarabisha says that it's the time that you're building your ideas for part 2 and part 3. Okay, yeah. So it's the time you have to gather your ideas for parts 2 and 3. Okay, good. All right. I'm not sure. That's a new kind of error. I saw that the camera just stopped there, but that's not actually the camera. That was the USB failing. Oh, Windows. Oh, Windows. Let me try to see if I can fix that. All right, just hold on there a second, students, and you can keep thinking about why that 1 minute is so important. Meanwhile, you get a little interlude about the baby there. Okay. All right, just hold on a minute. Okay. We might have a complete camera failure here. And just let me check this. This is something new. Hopefully I'll be able to get you back. All right. I might have to buy a new camera here. That was kind of unusual. It was a USB port failure and then a complete camera freeze. That was something new. USB ports fail in Windows, I know that sometimes, but not the way it just did. All right, well, here we are, back on point. Okay. All right. Don't worry, we've got lots of cameras. It's just a matter of switching cameras. So we have backup cameras, no worries. All right. Okay, so back we are. So again, the 1 minute preparation time, it's important because you're preparing for part 2 and for part 3. So what's important to remember during your part 2 preparation? Okay. Because you know that you're preparing for part 2 answer and part 3 answers, what's important to remember for your thinking in part 2 preparation? Like, how do you make sure that you make the best use of time in that 1 minute? Okay, so let me ask it that way. So since this 1 minute prep time is so important, how can you make sure that you maximize your efficiency? Okay, give me some answers for that. Okay, Pachu says make some short useful notes. Yep, that's a good idea. Okay, Un says keep some points in mind about part 2. Yeah, sure. Sanem Samra says think what, when, why. Sanem, it's better to think what, why, how. Okay, not when, but what, why, how. Okay. Banu says think about ideas which you can speak. Okay. Okay. Shaina says make a spider map. Maybe. That could be one useful note-taking strategy. All right. Makbuba, you should be allowed to take notes in the 1 minute. It's definitely a part of it. I don't know what happened in your exam there. Okay. Carolina says, brainstorm some words related to the topic. Sanam says, use your imagination. Yeah. And Fati says, develop your ideas. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give you some tips here. Okay. So keep your thinking open. Do not think just on a narrow idea. Okay, it's one of the common mistakes that I see. Okay, in the speaking. So oftentimes, what happens is that speakers get one idea in their head, and then they only talk about their one idea, like their mobile phone. And then for all of part 2, they're talking about their mobile phone, and all of part 3, they're talking about their mobile phone. And that's not good. Okay, you want to keep your ideas broad. So if you're talking about technology, talk about computers, mobile phone, the electric scooter that you used that morning. So keep your ideas open. Think about the blender you used in your kitchen. Okay? All right? So keep your ideas open. Do not just think of narrow ideas. All right? Think outside the box. Okay? And of course, the other one, one of you were mentioning this, is think critically. Think questions in your mind. Mostly what, why, how. Not what, when, why, but what, why, how. Okay, those are the most important critical questions. All right, let's do a little bit of this. So we'll get into it. So now you have some ideas. So the 1 minute preparation is super duper important. All right, so you look at your card, and your step 1 should always be to read the question carefully, and especially the topic sentence, read it twice. Okay? All right. Paramjit, a spider map is where you basically have an idea. Okay? So Paramjit is really persistent on asking what a spider map is because somebody mentioned it. A spider map is basically, it's called a mind map as well. So you have an idea, okay? And then you have another idea, so a sub idea, and then another one, and then another one. And you might have some connections between these ideas, and then you might have an idea here. You also call these mind maps, okay? Sometimes people call these spider maps, sometimes we call them, or more commonly, we call them mind maps. All right. Okay. Anyway, so let's get back to point here. Read the question carefully. Don't miss any points. And then make sure to read the topic sentence twice. So here we go. Talk about an enjoyable experience you had at a restaurant. When did this happen? Who were you with? What was positive about this experience? What could you recommend for the restaurant to be even better? All right, we read that, we're picturing that, we're thinking about that, and when we read this topic sentence again, talk about an enjoyable experience you had at a restaurant. All right, so it's really important to do this because if you speak off topic, you're going to get a low mark in the speaking section, okay? So once you've done this, you have to identify the category, okay? Of the speech, which could either be a person, place, object, idea, or an event, and identify the tense or the tenses that you will use. Okay, so in our example here, talking about an enjoyable restaurant experience, Pachu says the topic is an event and the subtopic is maybe a place. Yeah, okay. Enjoyable restaurant experience for sure is mostly an event. An event, okay? So primary is an event. That's what you have to focus on. Place here is very slight, okay? It's just a slight, okay? Subtopic, place. Yeah, because it's the restaurant, right? Okay, and the tense is past. So you're going to use past simple, progressive, perfect. Okay, you're using those tenses. All right? Okay, and you're talking about a restaurant experience. So you have to come up with a few ideas. Okay, that's your next step, is to come up with 3 ideas. All right? Harpreet, you can't just think of a marriage party, which would actually be a wedding celebration or a wedding reception, but you have to think about a few different ones. So Harpreet says a marriage party, but we don't say a marriage party, we say a wedding reception. So this is a good example of the importance of thinking of 3 ideas and choosing the best one that you can talk about easily and it's original. Okay, so a wedding reception is one idea. Wedding reception for my brother at Red Lobster. Okay, so fine, that's okay. All right. Let's come up with some other ideas. All right. Okay, so a graduation celebration. Where? Think about the restaurant here too as well. So Lucas says a graduation celebration for the German language class after finishing our A1 level. Okay, so graduation dinner. Okay. Where? So this is a restaurant as well, okay? So you have to think about the event and the restaurant, the name of the restaurant as well. Okay? Yosef says graduation dinner at a fancy Japanese restaurant. Be specific, Joseph. So what kind of a restaurant? Just make it up. Oftentimes, Japanese restaurants are sushi restaurants, right? So let's do graduation dinner at Maguro Sushi. Okay. All right. All right. Paramjit, please stop spamming with the red stop signs. Thank you. Un says 16th birthday party at at my uncle's restaurant called King. Okay. Okay. All right. David says business meeting at Sushi Tori. I like it, David. Okay. All right. Carolina says marriage proposal at Zoe's restaurant. Mm-hmm. Let's call it Zoe's Fine Dining, Carolina. Hopefully, it's a very nice venue where that proposal happens. Okay, Nice. So we have some good ideas here. Let's stick with one of these and then we'll work through the planning and we'll create our part two response. So, wedding reception for my brother at Red Lobster, number one. Graduation dinner at Maguro Sushi. 16th birthday at the uncle's restaurant King, or business meeting at Sushi Tori. I think we have some really nice ideas here. Or we can do number 5, marriage proposal at Zoe's Fine Dining. That's a good one as well. We're working on a part 2 speaking response for a cue card right now. So let's take a vote on this, and I'll consider which one's the most popular. Think unique, so it's original, and you can talk about it easily. Okay? All right? Be very, very careful with your choice. Your choice matters a lot. For Dobbs and Pachu say number 4. David says 4. 4 is good. 5 is really unique, says Joseph. Carolina's all for 5. Look at the number 4. So business meeting at Sushi Tori. Yeah, I think that's a really good one. To be honest with you, that would probably be my top choice as well. And it looks like a lot of you picked that one. Why is number 4 a good one? A business meeting at Sushi Tori. So why is that a good one? Why is that a good one? Marriage proposal is an interesting one as well, but let me explain to you what I'm thinking, and then we'll see what you think, okay? So if we're thinking unique, okay, wedding reception, I think that might be a very popular choice. And the problem with the wedding and the marriage is that there's going to be some challenging vocabulary, okay? So might get into some difficult vocabulary. Like you have to remember things like my fiance. My fiance got down on his knee and asked my hand in marriage. He presented me with a 1-carat diamond engagement ring. So you're getting into some very tricky territory here because it's a very specific ritual where you have a lot of very specific vocabulary. Do you see what I mean there? So I just explained a part of that speaking. So if you were to try to get a high score like a band 8 or band 9, you'd have to have all those words on the tip of your tongue, like engagement ring, 1-carat diamond, my fiance. So you're getting into some tricky, and if you're thinking about those words really hard, immediately the examiner will know that, well, you're probably not a band 9, because a band 9 will come up with those words, all right? So both for wedding and for marriage, unless you're familiar with that vocabulary for those specific rituals, you have to be very cautious, okay? All right, 16th birthday, I think birthday dinner will be a very popular answer for this cue card question. Graduation dinner could also be a good one, so I think number 2, and I think a lot of you realize that as well. Number 4 is really good because not only is it original, but there's quite a bit of information. It's information heavy, okay? So number 2 and number 4 are good choices, I think, for being original. And I think number 4 is the best choice because there is just a lot of information that you can say about how you had an enjoyable business dinner at Sushi Tori, where perhaps you presented some business idea that was welcomed by your colleagues or your clients. It was really successful. It led to a partnership. You made a lot of money while enjoying some of the finest sushi in the city. So I think there's a lot of great information that you can give there with a lot of detail. Does everybody see that? Okay, so I'm thinking not only unique, but another point that I'm thinking about is speaking about it easily. And with easily, it also means that there's a lot of information there. Okay? Now, what do you have to be careful about when you're talking about this is not to get lost in the business idea, but remember the original question. The original question says an enjoyable experience. So you have to talk about the enjoyable experience. Okay, so don't get lost talking about just business, all right? Because then you're going off topic. So, information heavy, okay? So, or lots of information. Another way to say that is lots to talk about. Okay, good. So I think that was David's idea. Good job, David, on the business meeting at Sushi Tori. Now, to make sure that I don't lose focus here, enjoyable business dinner at Sushi Tori. That's going to be my choice here. Okay, and now I need to write some useful notes. Okay, so when we're talking about an experience, what do I need to think about and in what order? This is what you have to remember. Okay, so we're talking about an event, and when you describe an event, what's the first point that you should discuss about the event? Okay, so what's the order of information? Okay. So, what was the event? Okay. So, the event, its location, its time. Yeah, time and location, you can play around with that. So, what was the event? Its location, its time. Let's see what else is there. I saw a couple of instead of thinking questions like what, when, where, think about statements like the event, the location, the time. When you just think about what, when, where, it's not as clear in your mind. Okay. The attendees, Carolina, that's right. So yeah, the attendees. And Carolina, instead of the significant, so before significance and meaning for you is the same. So activities. Okay. Activities and then its significance. Okay. So that's what you have to think about. So the event, location, time, attendees, activities, significant. And it's that order. So you have to think about it in that order. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The order matters. Okay, it makes a lot more sense when you have this order. So the order matters. Okay, so that you have structured good communication. Okay, so your notes, they should be quick. So we know the event. It's a business dinner at Sushi Tori. Give me some useful notes. First of all, about the event. So give me some useful notes about the event. Okay, and let's move quickly here. All right. So obviously we know it's a business meeting. What kind of a business meeting? So think about the topic of this business meeting. Okay. Don't overcomplicate it. Just think of kind of like a standard one. Think about your work, what kind of work you do. So in my case, I would maybe think about doing some contracts with schools to sell our materials. Okay. All right. It shouldn't be a Christmas party, Catherine. It's a business meeting. Okay. So think about some kind of a goal for the business meeting rather than having it just as a. Okay. So Nishant says launching a new product. Okay. What is the new product? Okay. Okay. Hardik says getting stock investors. Okay. So. There. So investors for a new online school. Okay, so we'll go with that. All right. Okay, so that's the event. Location. We know it's at Sushi Tori. So give me some notes about Sushi Tori. Okay. So you don't write down Sushi Tori. I'm just writing this down so you know that we're at a Japanese restaurant. Okay, so I see that there's lots of good ideas now for the business idea part of it. Be specific. Okay. So investors for a new online school, sure. Sushi Tori. It's in the city center. Anas, you'll remember that. Okay. Give me a little bit more about it. Okay. Mazir says maybe it's on a boat. Okay. David says third floor of Primavera Mall, downtown Bogota. It's probably actually there, isn't it, David? Sushi Tori. Okay, so city center, downtown. Yep. Okay. So Hilton top floor with view of the city. Sure. Okay. All right. David says, I don't know, I made it up. But David, it's good because it's believable, right? So it's fantastic. That's how you know you're coming up with some good ideas, when it becomes very believable. Okay. Sure. Okay. So time. When did it happen? Just give me some quick notes here. So quick notes here. Okay. So time. Okay. When did it happen? Half a year ago, Monday, 1 p.m. Okay. Around my birthday. Sure. Okay. Useful notes. Okay. Attendees, who were there? So notice how I'm just basically thinking of a couple of detailed notes for each of these specifics. Location, the event, location, time, attendees. So who was there? Okay. Erkin says the time is Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock, December last year at about 1 o'clock. Okay, good. Anas says CEO, CFO, right? Okay, sure. Board of Directors, says Kevin. Investors from KPMG, which is an investment group, right? Yeah. KPMG is an investing group, so sure, why not? Okay, very good. All right. What were the activities? So what actually happened there? Okay, now this is where you want to be really good. So what were the activities? What happened? Remember, it's something that's enjoyable. So it was enjoyable. Okay. So why was it enjoyable? Always keep the thoughts enjoyable spinning in your head, because the examiner is listening for that. The question is an enjoyable restaurant experience. Okay. Nishant says live music. So live jazz. Sure. Let's make it, instead of music, let's make it something more specific. You want to pick up vocabulary marks, fluency marks, right? So live jazz, very nice. Okay. At a Japanese restaurant, sure, why not? Okay. Yarabisha says, discuss the contract. Agreed. Successful. Okay. So definitely if you agree on a big contract, some big investment, it's an enjoyable experience. Happy with the deal. Okay. Spacious restaurant. So Anas says spacious, comfortable. Polite staff. Great food. Sure. Sushi chefs. Yeah, if you want to have an experience where they have very polite service, Japanese restaurant is a great choice. Japanese restaurants have among the highest service standards in the world, no question about it. So, variety of sushi, unique. Sushi, sure, very good. Okay. I would probably stay away from things like magic tricks, Romaine. It kind of goes off topic. Okay. So you probably wouldn't be, Banu, doing a business meeting in a restaurant where they're doing stand up and open mic. I doubt it. Okay. So maybe some light jazz music in the background, but other than that, okay. And maybe you had some drinks after. Okay. Um, okay. Now, what was its significance? Don't forget this one. So, what was the importance for you? Right? Maybe some champagne to celebrate, absolutely, or some sake to celebrate. Yeah, Joseph just said that, right? Sake to celebrate collaboration. Sure. Okay, and why was it significant for you other than making a deal? Okay, which might have made it really enjoyable. Okay, it's an enjoyable restaurant experience. Keep thinking about that. All right, probably because you got a promotion. To head of marketing, let's say. Okay, right? Okay, good. So now we need to have our first sentence ready, and then we basically put all of these ideas into consecutive sentences, and we'll come up with our speaking part 2 response. So again, going back to what I said, that 1 minute preparation time is super important. In the 1 minute, when you see this part 2 card, talk about an enjoyable experience you had at a restaurant. When did this happen? Who were you with? What was positive about this experience? What could you recommend for the restaurant to be even better? You will have 1 minute to prepare what you are going to say. Okay, so now I know the question. In the 1 minute, I come up with some ideas: birthday, wedding reception, proposal, or a business dinner that I had at a sushi place. Okay, business dinner sounds great. Now I remember that I have to talk about where it is, who were the attendees, what happened there, why it was important for me. So I write down some notes for that. And then I get my first sentence ready. So when the examiner says your 1 minute preparation time is up, you can start speaking right away. Okay, it's really important to have your first sentence ready in the 1 minute so you can start speaking right away. In the 1 minute preparation time, so you can start speaking right away when the examiner asks you to do so. Okay? Or asks to do so. Okay. For Dobbs, remember what I keep saying, right? You don't need to say what you'd like to talk about, just talk about it. So a business meeting where I had a pleasant experience at Sushi Tori in 2019 before the pandemic. Okay, so get right into it, Firdavs, right into it right away. Okay, don't say I'd like to talk about it. Okay, Joseph says the last memorable experience I had at a restaurant must have been the business meeting I had half a year ago. Okay, good, Joseph. Yeah. Okay, get right into it. Kevin Bowie says a wonderful time I had at a restaurant was about 6 months ago at Sushi Tori, which is a critically acclaimed Japanese restaurant on the top floor of the Hilton Hotel with a broad city view. Beautiful speaking, Kevin. That's the type of dialogue that will get you, or monologue, I should say, that will get you those high band scores. Very good. So, an extremely pleasant dining experience I had just half a year ago was a business dinner at Sushi Tori on the top floor of the Hilton Hotel downtown. Okay, so get right into it. Don't say things like, I've had many wonderful restaurant dining experiences, but the one that I remember the most. Don't do that. The examiner knows you're wasting time. If I'm your examiner and you start speaking like that, you just wasted the first 15 seconds and got 0 marks, okay? Because every student learns to say that. It's a template. People are just copying that from online. It's not valuable speech. You're not giving me any information. Of course, most of us have had positive experiences at restaurants. I'm not asking you about that. I'm asking you about one specific positive, enjoyable restaurant experience. So that's what you need to talk about. Okay, so get right into it. You will get a better band score. All right? Okay. So, and don't thank me for giving you this opportunity. I didn't give you this opportunity. You paid for it when you registered for the IELTS exam. Okay? So get right into it. All right? So this is my first sentence here. An extremely pleasant dining experience I had just half a year ago was a business dinner at Sushi Tori on the top floor of the Hilton downtown, Hilton Hotel downtown. The restaurant has an amazing panoramic view of the city, and this very important meeting took place at around 1 p.m. on a Monday, a week before my birthday. The goal of this discussion and dining experience was to get investors on board for a new online language school that my partners or colleagues and I had been working on for the past year. Okay? So all I'm doing here is I'm showing you a little bit of fluency, and I'm just thinking about my planning, my visualization, and I'm thinking about that series of ideas of what this was, so the event itself. Then I'm thinking about the location, where it was, when it was, okay? And then now I'm going to get into the attendees and the activities that happened and its significance. And the whole time I keep thinking about a pleasant or enjoyable dining experience, okay? So Hardik says it was a great event with beautiful jazz music and amazing decorations made by the restaurant staff, okay? Moshin says the restaurant had an amazing sea view and the meeting started at around 6 p.m. on a Saturday. Okay, those are all good ideas. So that's what you want to do. Put it together, okay? Tamon, I don't recommend using foreign words, even with explanations. Try to stay away from that unless it's absolutely unavoidable. So try to stay in English, okay? I know sometimes that can't happen because you're trying to explain the restaurant, for example, but do try, okay? Try to stay away from that, all right? So let's take what Hardik wrote. So there was beautiful jazz music playing in the background, which put everyone into a positive mood. Yeah. So again, the enjoyable component, right? I'm thinking of words like positive, happy, enjoyable, delicious. Okay, those are words that emphasize the fact that this was an enjoyable dining experience. Okay, the restaurant had nice Japanese decorations of cherry blossoms and traditional kimonos. Okay, sure. So again, staying specific. Keep writing here, students, so let me know what you would write, and then I will review it and keep adding it to the response. Hardik says the meeting was held last week, Monday at 1 p.m. with the company investors. Also, there were a couple of my colleagues who were present. Yeah, so who was present? I take a look at my notes, and I can see that CEO, the CFO, and some investors from KMPG. Okay. Isn't it KPMG? KMPG? So there were 5 of us around the table, including myself, as well as my company's CEO, CFO, and 2 investors from KMPG. Okay, sure. So using the notes, right? The notes are there for you to use. Make sure you look at the notes and use them, okay? You shouldn't be writing notes that are just there for no purpose, okay? Romaine says everyone was required to bring a small gift for the newly appointed CEO. That's getting a little bit lost, okay? Romaine, what I really want you to focus on in your studies when you're responding in these speaking parts is to stay on topic. So don't get lost in the formalities of the CEO, in the formalities of the business meeting. Here we're talking about why this was an enjoyable restaurant experience. So the business dinner is the setting, but the idea that we're emphasizing is that it's an enjoyable dining experience. Okay. So Joseph said, we had many fusion sushi options to choose from. Our investors have never been to this place, and they were really impressed by the quality of the tuna and the salmon. Yeah, okay, very good, Joseph. Yeah. So that's being specific. Good job, Joseph. That's what you want to work towards. So the food was absolutely delicious. The investors were really impressed by the quality of the food. The tuna and salmon were just divine. Okay. Yeah, very good. Rajveer says the required dignitaries such as, yeah, okay, nice word, Rajveer, with dignitaries. Absolutely. Now I see lots of ideas coming up. In just a sec, my camera decided to take a sushi break. But I'll get you back on board here in just a moment. Okay. So here we go. Oh, come on, wake up. Get this camera to wake up here while you think of your favorite kinds of sushi. And my daughter loves sushi too. She's a little baby there. But now she's 4. She sure enjoys sushi as well. All right, here we go. Okay, back we are. There you go. All right. And let's get to the bottom of this. All right. Okay, Pachu says, half a year ago it was an amazing meeting with the CEO and other representatives from the company. Pachu, I think you've missed a little bit here. Okay. I would talk about the staff here. So the staff were very polite and made sure that we were looked after. Looked after. Okay, so I'm doing a good job speaking here. I'm starting to really get the right idea to the examiner. The examiner can feel that, okay, this person obviously knows what they're talking about. They're focusing on an enjoyable restaurant experience, explaining this business meeting. What should I do at this point? Okay, so I'm probably about 70, 80, 90 seconds into my speaking at this point. What should I do? So there's something important that I should do here to make sure that I get full marks. What is that? Okay. All right. Yeah, very good, Joseph. So Joseph says the recommendation is still missing. Okay. Carolina says, look at the cue card. Yeah, so I still haven't said why this was important for me. And I need to look at the card and make sure that I'm answering all the questions. So on the card, it says, what could you recommend for the restaurant to be even better? So think about some quick recommendations here. It's very important that you do not miss any of the questions on the card. If you miss questions, your mark will go down, okay? So here I would say something like, the meeting was a success and I was over the moon, not only because of the great food, but also because this contract had led to a promotion and a salary or a pay raise. Let's say that. Okay. So, and now I want to think about, my recommendation. Prajwal says ample parking space. The music was a little bit loud, maybe. Okay, I would write something like, the only recommendation that I would have for Sushi Tori is to include a better dessert menu. They only had a couple of options, and it would have been nice to order a chocolate cake, or as many of you know, I love my cheesecake. Order a cheesecake or chocolate cake, or one of my other favorite desserts, frozen mochi. Love mochi. If you ever have the chance, that's a great one. Okay, so that would be my recommendation. All right. Keep it simple, right? Something more on the menu. Okay. Complimentary sake. Okay. All right, students, here we go. Let's go through this together. I'm going to read this and repeat after me. So let's go back to the original question one more time. Make sure that we cover all of the points, and then we'll go through the answer together. So make sure to speak and repeat. Here we go. Talk about an enjoyable experience you had at a restaurant. When did this happen? Who were you with? What was positive about this experience? What could you recommend for the restaurant to be even better? With great planning, we came up with a great response. Let's go through it together. 3, 2, 1. An extremely pleasant dining experience I had just half a year ago was a business dinner at Sushi Tori on the top floor of the Hilton Hotel downtown. The restaurant has an amazing panoramic view of the city, and this very important meeting took place around 1 p.m. on a Monday, a week before my birthday. The goal of this discussion and dining experience was to get investors on board for a new online language school that my colleagues and I had been working on for the past year. There was beautiful jazz music playing in the background, which put everyone into a positive mood. The restaurant had nice Japanese decorations of cherry blossoms and traditional kimonos. There were 5 of us around the table, including myself, as well as my company's CEO, CFO, and 2 investors from KMPG. The food was absolutely delicious. The investors were really impressed by the quality of the food. The tuna and salmon were just divine. The staff were very polite and made sure that we were looked after. The meeting was a success, and I was over the moon, not only because of the great food, but also because this contract had led to a promotion and a pay raise. The only recommendation that I would have for Sushi Tori is to include a better dessert menu. They only had a couple of options, and it would have been nice to order a cheesecake or a chocolate cake or maybe even a frozen mochi. Okay, so that's roughly 1 to 2 minutes of speaking, and I believe we've answered all of the cue card. So that's what you need to do, but in order to do this, again, you have to have really good planning, okay? All right, so you can do it. Couple of key tips for part 2. Make sure you know what to include when you're talking about people, places, objects, events, and ideas, just like we did here. So what is the event? Okay, the location, the time of the event, the attendees, and the activities and the significance of the event. Okay, so make sure that you know the order. When you're talking about a person, you need to talk about their appearance, their actions, and their personality. And again, you need to know the order. Okay, all right. So that is it, and that is the part 2 strategy for talking about an event, asking about a restaurant experience, okay? All right. I hope everybody enjoyed this class, and remember to keep practicing. We've got lots and lots of practice for you on our website at aehelp.com for academic IELTS students and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS students. Be sure to visit us there, sign up for the premium package, and spend a couple dollars to save yourself a lot of headache. That's it for today. I will be back next week with more speaking on Wednesday at this time, speaking part 1. That will be for everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And remember, you're all beautiful people. Stay positive. I'm Adrian, signing out from Central Europe. Bye for now.